Well, welcome to I guess a new chapter in POS. Me and Bobby. Bobby's from the past. I guess he's using a time machine or an old computer, but either way, that's why it looks like old-timey photo. How are you, sir?
I'm hanging in there. How about you, buddy?
Um, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know how I feel about everything that's been going on, but whatever. Life hands you lemons. You wonder if those hands have arthritis. I don't know. It's like it's all old and beat up. It's the same shit, different day, I guess. But it's weird that we're not going to have Frank on. So everyone that hasn't been caught up, Frank will no longer be part of this podcast. It's not a thing where he's waiting, whatever. He's not going to come back, and it's 100% Bobby's fault. Um, that podcast last week was so powerful. I'm not getting the details. It's changed my life. It's changed Frank's job on here, and it's no longer on the internet. So it's like because of things that were said that got people in trouble, whatever. But that being said, we move forward. Now, before Bobby, you defend yourself for saying anything, I'm not mad at you. I think I've made that clear in private, but I want to say that out here. We're all just doing whatever on a podcast. You even said, hey, you want me to pull back for a while? You and Frank be on here? Frank's allowed to choose his thing. Now, do I think that sometimes I'm going to offend a couple listeners here, your compound mentality sometimes shines through on other podcasts? Therefore, what I mean by that is it's the let's fucking roast our friends and not care. But even though we think they're in on a joke, but like, did we ever look to see if they were also telling the joke? Or are we just telling Frank he's gay and terrible and cutting him off nonstop? And this is an 80-year-old man who's seen so much life and is being cool enough to just share some time and stories with us. And you weren't even letting him speak. There was in the last 3 or 4 podcasts, he just wasn't even allowed to talk. And he knew that. He was shutting down. He didn't even try to share a story at 2 of the last 4 because he knew you were going to cut him off. But he kept going with it. This is not him telling me this. I said this to him when I saw him last night. He didn't bring it up. He's not upset. He went away and played some golf. He had a great time. We were at the show last night. He performed well. He'll move on. But for him to let it go, if I was 80, I wouldn't. I'd hold a grudge. Why not? Maybe. See how long I can hold this. You know what I mean? You see how old you can hold your bladder. Let's see how you can hold that. I'm going to miss him, but we'll move forward because also I want you to be you. But there's been times on this podcast in the past where you've made some jokes or let people that we had a couple 2 episodes way back in the past where I had to stop doing the episode and cut it down because people were just hammering on it. And I'm like, that's not what I want. My mindset's in a different place. I want everyone to be happy. I want us to find the piece of shit in other stories, not in each other. But maybe that's me.
That's fair. Makes sense. I mean, my big thing is like, this was the first mention of any issue. Like, and I know like people were tearing down the fourth wall a little bit, but like if it had been like hey man, I feel like I can't get a word in, it would have been something I made note of.
He said he's probably watching
like off air.
Watch episodes.
But like that, I assume that was part of the joke. Like literally he started that episode off by in the intro asking you a 45-minute long question about the sale you were having.
No, he was
like I misread the situation is what it boils down to. I felt like we were good. I didn't realize there was any issue whatsoever.
That's not what he was doing. He was literally before the episode, I was having fun with that rant and joking around. So he was literally knowing his sense of humor. He was letting that happen and being the customer. So that's what he was doing. It was a joke. And then you right away, if you watch it, you can't now, I guess. You got very upset because you were trying to work on like video stuff, but it derailed whatever him and I were trying to do at the beginning. Because he was just doing. So Pat, you're telling me if anything, he was acting out as the customer for me. So it was easier. That's all he was doing.
I wasn't trying to do video editing. Like literally, I have a shot of you for the intro, then it switches to Frank. He introduces us, then it's a 3-shot. Until he introduces us, I was having to switch back and like we have a flow to the show that was completely thrown out the window. And I know it doesn't make a big deal to you or Frank, but like that's our normal thing. Like literally, if you go back and watch all of the episodes we've done since I started using OBS, boom, starts on a shot of you, goes to the announcer, we go to the individuals, and then we start the show. Like, I couldn't do that. I was having to flip back between you and Frank. It was nuts. Yes. Did I overreact? Yes. Is that part of the character I do sometimes on the show? Sure. Like, do I hate breaking down the fourth wall? Absolutely. Like, but it was nuts because, like, it out the gate, it was just seemed like it was completely off the rails. And maybe I misread that. So that's on
Well,
me.
here's the thing, Bobby. If you're going to have a thing that you think is a flow of the show, maybe let the other people on the show know about it. I've never noticed that or thought about it.
Again, that's my thing.
Like, to be honest with you, I don't, when the show starts always just on one of us, I just don't care if it's three of us or not. You don't communicate that stuff. No, what I'm saying is, so for you not to communicate that, we don't know. You think Frank's ever watched an episode?
I doubt it. No,
because he's not even on the Patreon. So he doesn't see half the shit he's on anyway. And I'm gonna keep harping on it. This is an 80-year-old fucking man. Most people don't even make it to that age. He's just, and the fact that he is that lively and shares the stories and that quick-witted and fun is a treasure. And I love having him on. He's one of the closest people in my freaking life. And the fact that he was just butthurt and said that he shouldn't have to say anything. He should have to be shown respect a little bit. So all three of us should, because he tried to show it to you. He's inviting you to things, saying, this, that, whatever. He's always did that. He always tried to do little advice things. But that's not that episode. That was just a straw that broke the camel's back. Every week, and it got more and more that you're saying it was a character. You were just hammering on him. But you don't talk. You don't message him afterward and talk to him.
Afterward, no, because I never realized. Like, I thought we. You
don't think you're being mean when you're constantly like cutting him off every time for the last 2 months? You don't think that's something? But you wouldn't. But the next episode we did, you treated the two Mexican guys like they were fucking the greatest comedy team of all times. You started with, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. You're like, these are going to be the next Jerry Seinfeld. And they're good guys, don't get me wrong. But the respect level you gave them and then don't give to the person on our show was super apparent when I watched that. Like, it's the people that you have respect for, or then I guess maybe I don't think you don't respect. I don't think you believe that you do not respect Frank, but I think you might just took him for granted that when we had him on, or same with me. I think it's because when you have a rapport, you think it's okay, but like the respect you show some of these people that are fucking nothing. I mean, like, I'm not shitting on them. They're just the example, but the difference, if you watch both those episodes, how you treated them and everything you never cut them off. I mean, you gave them every chance to say they were gay over and over and over. And that's what they did. And it's fine. But Frank trying to tell a story, cut him off. And then even when you did here's 15 minutes of me being nice, you were a dickhead. And I get that was a character and joke. But when Frank is shutting down and you're used to him taking over, you got to notice something. But not even that. Just think about the joke. Is it a two-way street? You and I shit on each other, but it's a two-way street. If it's not, we talk. Frank's an 80-year-old man that doesn't feel like he has to talk to someone a quarter of his age about talking to him. It's a different world.
Fair enough.
I'm speaking for myself. Frank never told me this. Frank literally messaged me during that next episode saying, I'm not doing this anymore. If you want to know the piece of shit in this is, it's Bobby. And I thought, oh, wow, he left with a funny line right at the fucking end because he was still called the piece of shit in the story. And he said, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm done. Thanks. And that was it. And we didn't talk about it since. And why would I? He was going to go golfing. He wanted to feel good about shit. He had a great week. He performed last night, and he had a good time. And he's in good spirits and feeling good for a guy who's been dealing with a hell of a lot of shit in his life. You know what I mean? I mean, we all make the jokes, whatever. I know for a fact he was sensitive when you would hammer. Like last week when you were bringing up his wife, you did that a little too much. He talks about it. He doesn't really say, I say your name sometimes, but you kind of went into it. He was sharing real shit about his family. You kind of really went into it. Okay, but then the next thing you were like, how come no one asked about my show? It's like,
it was a joke. That was a joke. You didn't ask.
How do we know what's the difference between a joke and not a joke?
It's a comedy podcast. I'm joking.
Sometimes, but were you joking when you went, Frank, don't fucking talk at the beginning? I'm trying to get a video shot that's important to 30 people that watch. I mean, or 31 because someone else watched it and got me fired. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. It's a joke everyone should be on. It's your joke, I guess. And I've had to learn. I'm telling you, as a person that's had to learn this from life, because I did that a lot when I was younger. And I would think, oh, it's just a joke. And I'm like, no, I'm just being angry. And I hide it in comedy. But it's the other person laughing. Like I deal with this in life with family members of mine who will be like tough on their kids and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, I'm just joking. I'm like, by putting them down, then you're like, who's the joke? Them? And I'm not saying you're being like that to Frank, but I'm just saying in general, that's the compound mentality. Let's just fucking shit on them because that's what everyone likes from that. I'm not shitting on. It's the Opie and Anthony mentality. It was the Howard Stern mentality. It was back in the day.
But don't make it like it's a group of comedy. Like it doesn't have to be like, oh, we're being like somebody. You're just making fun of everybody. That's like what some people do. That's how you show affection. Like if you share a story,
but don't they have to receive the affection?
I think I thought he was. Again, maybe, like I said, I misread this. That's on me. I apologize for that. But like, if you share a story, like when he shared that story about his family, I forget all the details of it, but it was ripe to like, it's a comedy podcast. What was the story? Do you even remember the details?
Yeah, very much so. I remember the details of his mother. It wasn't about, okay, it was a comedy podcast, but we were for the moment being human beings and talking about confirmation and things like that. And it triggered something. Not saying I couldn't make fun of it, but then you didn't let it go. There was a difference between the joke and then hammering the dead joke.
Fair enough.
20 minutes later. Oh, yeah. And I get it. It's a comedy podcast, Bobby. But there's been many times that you've been sensitive on here. And you've told me afterwards, I'm in the mood or I'm shut down or I had a bad day. And you told me, sorry, I didn't do this. So you can't just say it's a comedy. There's times where you didn't want to take a joke either. Many times.
Right.
So have I.
I get it. But what did I do right after? I addressed the person who there was an issue with. Like, I didn't realize I crossed the line. I sent him a message right after when you said there was an issue.
No, you didn't do it right after. You did it once I told you. Like, I would have been like, I even said to you when it ended, I said, oh, Frank's pissed. Like, you couldn't read that. We've been staring at the same heads for months.
The gasket on your engine blew. Why didn't you bring it into the mechanic before the check engine light came on? You didn't know there was a problem. You know what I mean? Like,
I think a person's feelings are a little more different than a car.
But I'm talking about the situation in general. Like, if I don't know there's an issue, I can't address it or I can't make a change. And
But in the car, could you sense that I have some people can?
Apparently, I'm not one of those people with emotions. Then you know what I mean? Like,
let's say you don't have emotions. That's a little dramatic. You have emotions because you get upset and you get worked up about things.
I can't read emotions through sense. Like, I can't sense other people's feelings. If there's never a, hey, like if I have an issue with somebody, I let them know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't let it get to the point where there is a straw that breaks the back. Like, I try to nip things in the bud. That's why I think we work well together. When either of us has an issue or doesn't like something, we let the other person know.
I didn't do that at the beginning with you. And I think we know that because it got to a point where I had to message you and say, hey, I don't know if I want to do this fucking anymore because it was getting to a point where I didn't like it. Not everyone's the same, Bobby. And if someone is stopped being themselves, you should ask questions like, hey, why are you being this way? I'm not saying you didn't have to fix it. It's not your job. Frank's my friend. I tried to bring two people together in a world, but my first ever POS was with Frank. When I brought the compound, that was the thing. I thought what made us not two white guys who just shit on stuff was that we had an 80-year-old man that was saying crazy shit that made us a little more unique and different. I thought Frank brought something different to the table than just two white guys, one in his 20s, one in his 40s, mad because things haven't gone their way. And now we're just two white guys mad because we lost our grandpa. But either way, I'm not mad about it. We'll continue to do it. I need to do it. I like doing the podcast. But I think I'm not saying you should have read into or seen it. I'm just saying that what I've learned a lot in life, and especially recently, is when I say things now, I think about if that person has to take that in their head, joking or not joking, and sit alone in the room with it. Because I know too many people that do that and don't say shit, and they can start to believe the shit. Frank's an 80-year-old guy doesn't know if he's a funny guy or the joke of us. I'm not saying he said that. I'm speaking for him. But I can get that. But there's times in my life when I was younger when people would say shit to me and then just walk away and think it'll be fine later. It didn't leave my head for fucking months, years, whatever. And sometimes you can start believing that shit. Now, I know I'm taking this to a different step than just comedy and shit. And I'm just saying in general, that's how I approach things. Yes, I make fun of things and I tell jokes and do that shit. But I also try to write it back and make sure everyone's still involved. If I'm going to hammer on Frank for a minute, I'm going to hammer on you and then also hammer a ton on me to make sure it's going all the way around. If you watch our episodes, you don't fuck with me. And I'm the one easier to fuck with. If there's one that could take the beat, and it should be me, but you don't. You and I could go back and forth, and you just fucking beat the shit out of Frank.
Fair enough.
Because it really, if you think about it, there isn't a time, and I don't do it with you either. We do it once in a while. You'll even go, "We okay, bud?" Like you'll ask that. I'm like, I can say it's a joke, but I don't say that because I realize right away that's not an excuse for it. Doesn't matter if I thought it was a joke. The second you address it, I should be treating it differently. Yes, we all joke. We're also still human beings, and obviously sensitive ones who are awkward in life, or we wouldn't be doing this comedy thing that we do. If we were socially apt, we wouldn't be doing a thing that is in the way you're not supposed to communicate. I talk, you shut the fuck up on stage because I can't handle your real feelings back at me. So I need you to clap or leave. That's what we do. And even in this kind of thing, we're trying to joke, we're trying to do whatever, we're trying to make everyone laugh. But then the social media world wants to tell us, Bobby, you're a troll, and Pat, you're a fucking unfunny, angry fuck. And Frank, you're fucking this. It's like, we're just trying to have fun. And why are you even, just don't watch it. We have to deal with all that. And then when it comes on the inside, it becomes too much. Right now, people are going to go, Pat, you're being a fag. And I'm like, maybe, but they seem to be doing well. 2022, they're ruling. So maybe I should be more like them. You know what I mean? They're killing it. The straight white male guys are working. But that being said, we move forward. If I'm going to do a thing on POS, I mean, on the Patreon, like kind of my old thing, Pat Oates is sad, but like Pat Oates isn't sad type deal. And we'll just have other guests on once in a while and just talk, not in a format like we do. And maybe Frank will appear on there sometimes. He said right now he doesn't feel like it. I wouldn't have him on to talk about this just so I can share Frank with everybody still. But if you miss Frank, go follow him on social media. He just recorded he was telling us about this video he was making for that dumpster thing. He showed it to me and his other comic, Andre Kim, last night. They put it together. It's professionally done. It's hilarious. He pops out of a dumpster. He's throwing pizza and shit. It's crazy looking. He's doing the voiceover like he's Morgan Freeman. Dude's living his best life at 80 years old. He's trying to enjoy every fucking moment till it's gone. And for once a week, he would take his old ass and we would shit on him saying you got to do it at 6 p.m. But like, I get tired at 47. I can't imagine how he feels having to yell at us on a fucking laptop for an hour and a half and then go to sleep and explain to his wife what he's doing. Why are you even doing this? And he's like, oh, because they need me. That's why he was doing it. So everyone knows the Patreon money's nothing. We don't make anything really, but Frank didn't take a dime. Didn't want a dime. I never gave Frank anything out of it. Frank never got money for doing this. Frank did it because he just wanted to be around people that made him feel good. And that's it. I'm not saying anything to you, Bobby. Yeah, he enjoyed most of his time on here. I'm just saying that's why he did it. And I did it because I find Frank fucking fascinating. I always have. Since I met him, he's a guy who started doing comedy in his goddamn 70s, showing you don't fucking give up on shit. You keep learning. And he did it so he can get over a disease. He had this disease, he still does, that affects your brain and your memory. And you're like, you need to find something that trains your memory back. And he's like, I'll try comedy because I have to memorize shit. And he showed up at a comedy school that I was teaching. And we became friends from there. And he had these great stories about the pranks and Alan Abel that we shit on. Every week he would take that. And even now, once in a while, I'd say to him, hey, man, I'm sorry. That's his friend who died. And every week we fucking shit on him. Like, I was part of it too. I get it. He's not going to say anything to me, but we probably made it unfun. That's why I would try to pull back and say, tell your story, Frank. Share your shit, Frank. Good job, Frank. And then when you would go too hard, I'd jump in and go, easy, Bobby. And then you'd ease back, whatever. So it wasn't just the one episode or all that stuff there. I think he's just tired and beat up and just wanted to be respected because all he did was show us love. That was it.
R.I.P.
And now we're going to have to get a black one, I think. Like a black old guy. Well, why not? That'll make everything better with everyone. Because they're like, if you're going to replace him, you should, you know what I mean? When you do that in shows, you have to replace him with a new minority, like a trans one or something.
Yeah, if it happened naturally, that'd be a fun.
It's being natural. Right now, we're putting on a contest. If you are a black trans, send your videos to Bobby, and he will watch them and choose the best. Are there any Asian transsexuals with the last name trans? Are they trans?
That would be pretty bad.
I said on stage last night and someone goes, no. Someone just yelled out like that. I don't know if they were knowing the joke or just they already knew the information. It's no.
Not a fan. Did the research already.
I've looked. Or I am a fan. I'm such a fan. I've looked. and it's not.
Oh, I
there.
am a fan. No luck.
I'm a fan is Trans's brother's name. Fan and Trans. I knew a kid named Fan. He was Vietnamese, I think.
I don't think I did.
But it's Phan.
Yeah.
That was. It was Fan Fung or some shit. Some kind of bullshit. I forget.
I remember I was going up against an Asian kid and a
In
speech
what?
competition. In a speech competition.
Oh.
In like 7th grade. And one of the guys I was with is like, oh, what's this kid's name? Chris Lee. And that was his actual name.
Nice.
And he kicked all of our asses.
In a speech?
Yeah, dude.
So what did you have to say? Like a speech, like a debate, or like what?
No, what was the topic that year? My future is bright because was the speech topic, and then you had to just give a speech, and whoever gave a better speech.
Do you
won.
remember what a little bit of your speech? Like at least the gist?
Oh yeah, over 2 centuries ago, a group of farmers, lawyers, doctors, and others gathered on Christmas Eve to write the Declaration of Independence or some shit like that. And it was just about all the freedom America had.
And he
I
was
just
like,
remember Chris.
"Hello, the whole
No.
country gonna be run by
Nope.
all my people. We gonna run everything. We gonna take disease and
Even-
virus, destroy the world, keep you in your homes. Thank you." Was that his? I like that Bobby froze on racism. That's my favorite thing. I don't know if you know you
fucking
froze,
hate
but you
living.
froze the second I started doing the voice, and it was the best.
I tried to correct you because it was even better than that. It was even funnier. He had a Morgan Freeman style, dark, deep put on.
How old
Hello,
was he?
My name is Christopher. We were in 7th grade. Like it was clearly just somebody doing a deep voice. But
Oh,
he kicked our ass. I mean,
Bro.
technically I won because he went 2 minutes over the time limit. Homie ran the light and got disqualified. But like if they made it very clear, if he did not run the light, he would have kicked all of our asses.
And he went down in history as the first non-productive Asian because usually they're time efficient. So there it was, done.
I mean, that was the most important lesson I could have learned in speech. Follow the light, right? They give you
Yes.
that light on stage. Hop off. I don't care how
Was-
good or
was
bad
Hop
your set
off
is.
his name?
No, that'd be funny though.
I
But
didn't
like, no matter how good or bad your set is, if you're at a new place, just follow that light, and you make a better impression than you would have.
Your school had speech competitions in the 7th grade?
It was like voluntary.
Like a
It
club
wasn't like-
or
it wasn't a team. No, just the Optimist every year have this speech contest. The Optimist Club.
who's the Optimist Club?
I don't know. For a group that's supposed to be positive, they were some pessimistic motherfuckers.
No, but like, was it a group of kids or was it like a Rotary club that like sponsors
No, it's
something? Or
like
what was it?
rich old people.
Oh, and they would just like sponsor, like, give like a scholarship if you're good or something.
Yeah, if you win, you got scholarship money. If you won nationals, I think I made like $1,000 over the years doing it. The one that
Hey.
I won was Voice of Democracy. That was a fun contest.
Who did you go up against? Chris Lee again?
No. You had to record your speech once, and then they just submitted it places.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, you would just get to go. Like, I made it to nationals for that, and we got to just go stay in a hotel for a weekend. A bunch of college kids, or high school kids. High school kids, like just hanging out for a weekend, and didn't have to do a contest. They were like, whoever wins will have to give their speech. None of us rehearsed because we were like, it doesn't matter at that point.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like exactly how when comics, their first 5 years in, sign up for a comedy festival, they have to make a clip, to get a clip, send it in, but then you all go and realize this doesn't matter. Why are we here? We're not going to get anything out of this. We're just here for no reason. We might as well get to know each other. That's all it is.
Well, like debates, you have to like perform. This was literally just you guys have already done the work. Just come hang out at this place.
There's no dinner or recognition or anything?
Oh, dude, there was a big dinner. Sunday night, there was a big dinner, like after the contest where they announced the winner. But up before that, it was like tour the area because you'd all won your local thing. That's how you got there. And then like at night, they would have like a mixer and one kid would play Wonderwall, and you know how it goes.
Yeah, I guess. I was never good in school, and I definitely wasn't invited to like smart people functions. So I never went to like, the fucking get together for smart dudes, whatever it was called. I was not in the optometrist club. I know you said optimist club.
my freshman year, they sent us for a day to analyze people to join the Future Leaders of America Society. And it was like basically like a group interaction long IQ test. And the last test was you had, I think I've told this before, but you had a bunch of hula hoops and your team had to fill the hula hoop with all the balls. And like they had a bunch of tennis balls out there. You had to fill it and go steal it from the other team's hula hoops. So you defend yours. Like it was a game. But the whole point of the game was you were supposed to realize if we just all put our hula hoops together, we all win. Right?
How do you put all your hula hoops together?
Because you can just stack them on top of each other and just throw the balls in, and then everybody wins. The problem solved.
I thought you meant like the Olympic rings.
No,
you'd
that's
have like
a good
5
idea.
and then all the balls there.
No, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
But what I said was, hey, everybody, put the balls in our hula hoop, and then we'll put yours on top. And then as soon as ours were, we win. Fuck you guys. That's imperialism. We're the real leaders. I didn't get invited to join the club.
Yeah, we put your balls in your hole, bitch. Look at this.
Yep.
Oh, that's fun.
One year for Science Olympiad, we didn't have like enough people. So there were just like people who didn't study to take tests. And I would just go in and take the tests because if your team was there, you might as well get some points. And like I would be taking astrology tests where they let you use a computer, not getting any of the answers.
It's weird. People know this. I don't know. They won't know by checking out, but we're recording this at 1:30 in the fucking afternoon on a Friday. I think Bobby just got out of work, and I've just stopped listening to my Mexican neighbors play really loud. Daddy Yankee was his name, like very loudly for like 3 hours.
Gasolina.
Yeah, a lot of gasolina, but then these other hits like petroleum and unleaded. It's a lot. All the other ones. But and I had a show last night, so I got home at like 1:30, so I'm just kind of looking beat up.
I've been burning the candles at both ends start of May. So
part of that broke up, so I didn't hear it. You said,
I said I've been burning the candle at both ends since the start of May. So I'm right there with you, exhausted. Yeah. I didn't have a show last night, but I had one Wednesday, and
you were supposed to. Anyway,
yeah, I was gonna say, you know who really whole situation? Dan Brown, who successfully did become Jobby McJobstealer.
No, he became Drivey McDrive-a-lot. That's what he's been doing the last 3 days. Wednesday, we went to an open mic. He drove me to the show yesterday, and him and I are doing a spot for JB Smooth's brother in the show in West Haven tonight too. But yeah, you'll see a lot more gigs on my schedule soon. I've got the comedy bug again, so I've been writing a lot and putting shit out there. So I've been hitting up people and getting some stuff together. So I'll be setting up some more stuff. I'm actually gonna be putting on my own show right down the street from my house.
Exciting.
The guy who wants to put the shows on, I guess I say used to. He does comedy once in a blue moon, but he used to do comedy and help run a club and other places. He's more into the old school comics. Because those are the guys that gave him opportunities. His bar that he owns, a restaurant, whatever, caters to an age like mine or old. Like I'm the young person at that bar. You know what I mean? So it's like a restaurant. So therefore he wants older guys. So we're gonna be doing like having the headliners be like who I call like the Connecticut and like New England legends. Like the guys, they're still funny. I mean, one of the guys that I'm having a show with me on June 11th, Johnny Rizzo, do an incredible story. Like, all right, you want to hear a story about someone who missed an opportunity? It was that fucking close, and just a dumb little thing. So Johnny Rizzo is known as the rubber face man. Like if you talk to Earl David Reed and you say Johnny Rizzo, he will not only know who he is, he will talk about how this guy is a fucking killer beast legend. Like the guy
I know of Johnny Rizzo.
Rizzo's, I've known him since I started.
Yeah.
Legendary, amazing. Not only is crowd work is ridiculous, dude's off the fucking wall bonkers, but his faces are like he's not like the guy who just does De Niro or whatever the fuck that is. Every motion and movement turns him into a different fucking person, and he's just fucking hilarious. But I guess I don't know the exact timing on the years, but in the 80s, I would assume, maybe early, it had to be 80s. He was like the hot shit in Connecticut. Now, okay, people might say, well, what does that fucking mean? Well, back when there was a lot less comics, there was a lot of people going to New York back and forth. So it was like big names were getting out of certain areas. There were two big fucking names, two young superstars that were going to be the next big thing that lived in Connecticut. Both lived in the Bridgeport area of Connecticut. They're both hailing from there, going to New York, doing all this stuff. They both had management, stuff like that. Now, HBO was doing one of their fresh faces things. Now, to be on that then was like, I don't even know what the equivalent would be like. I guess when Netflix does their thing, but it's not even that. Like there really isn't a thing that just exposes the world to it anymore. There's so many small things.
It's like guest hosting Rogan for a month.
Possibly, but you're not doing just your stand-up set. So you're learning who you are. You know what I mean? Like, but a thing that just the world doesn't know who you are, and then all of a sudden everyone watches this thing and knows who you are. And you're on TV from nothing to boom, like that. And it way before the internet or anything like that. So this is your exposure. I mean,
so it's like being being like the Boston Marathon bomber. The night before, nobody knew who you were, and then you were on the front of every magazine, and everybody was talking about you the next day.
And it's the only time that you bomb, and it's good. Okay, I don't mean probably should have said good. Good for him. Like with the goal of bombing, it was great. It was one of the best. But for everyone else, I mean, I don't know. I if I was running in that race and I wasn't done yet, and that happened, I'd be like, whew.
Depends on what kind of. Were you having a good pace? Like, were you on pace to set a record? Like a personal record, or were you having one of those days where you just didn't want to run?
Well, first of all, if you were in Boston Marathon, you're in the top 5, you're used to bombs going off when you run. You know what I mean? You're not from here. You're Kenyan born, Kenyan bred. And when you die, you'll be Kenyan dead. You know what I mean? So it's like you're definitely blowing up. But anyway, so Johnny had a manager or whatever, and the manager was contacted about this fresh faces. I might have some of the details wrong. I've heard the story from many different people and from Johnny, but it's been years, whatever. But basically what happened was the manager said, hey, I was contacted by HBO. I don't like them. They're barely offering money. I think we can hold out for a little bit more. And Johnny's like, I just want to fucking be on this thing. Just make it happen, whatever. But the manager on his own decided to pass. So they were only going to choose one of the 2 people from Connecticut. It was either him or this young comic named Richard Belzer. So Richard Belzer gets on, and now if you're like, oh, I think I know that name. Yeah, Law and Order. Well, used to host the Tonight Show, legendary comedian, and they were both at that same level. Some people say that fucking Johnny's probably better, but how do you recover from that in life? If you work hard, you do whatever. Johnny did amazing things, but still, that one little fucking thing that someone else fucking made a decision for you, fucking insanity.
You got to start by killing that manager, right?
I don't know if he's alive anymore. I don't know if he was murdered, but I'm sure Johnny said some crazy things. But anyway, Johnny's had an amazing career. Is still fucking funny as fuck. So the guys running the club was like, hey, can you get Johnny on? And I'm like, yeah. So me and Johnny are going to do that show. He'll do his set, whatever. We'll have a fucking fun. If you want to see like a dude just put on a clinic of being, and it's not like, I know people say old timey. Is it like old hack street jokes? No, original, his fucking jokes. Crower. He's a dude that was before his time. Like it really is. It's fucking edgy and great. But some of it, you're like, okay, this seems real. Like he seems nuts. But like he is. But a lot of comics are nuts, and that's where it comes from. But he's fucking a beast, and I'm sure it's gonna be great. Like I'll do 45 and he'll do 45. That's what we're gonna do for the first show. And I will guarantee you, I can do my best shit, and he will not even bat an eye and just fucking crush. Like it won't fucking matter. It's just gonna be a fun fucking time in doing it. So I'm excited to do that. We're gonna bring other guys in like that, and then down the road we get into the fall and start building a little thing where I know audiences are coming just to come. Then maybe try to get younger guys in and other established and stuff like that too, but not as big as they are. But we're gonna kind of do like a tribute to like the New England, tri-state area legend type guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
which can be fun.
And it's kind of a unique opportunity too, because like everybody and their brother right now is trying to sell the young comic open mic show. You know what I mean? Oh, it's a Wednesday. Come get beers and see. Like it's a different experience. You're like, hey, you've definitely heard of these guys. Remember this guy from back in the? That's a cool idea.
Well, I also think young comics need to see that a show can be comics doing long sets and not just doing 5 minutes of like, hey, the Ukraine's crazy, or like, did you know that what Amber Heard took a poop? Like, real tried and true written tested material in a set form in front of an audience that's paying for it. And wow, they're reacting to everything, even if it's crazy or dirty or whatever. Yeah, it's exactly. You're gonna laugh because it's fucking funny. And I think people have forgotten that part. We're all too worried about the message and the fucking, and we all just separate it in our heads. Like, this audience is left and this audience is right. Like, no, they're just comedy Americans when they buy a ticket. That's all it fucking is. The second you pay money, they're all one person. They want to laugh. If you don't get them to laugh or at least relate or have it resonate, that's on you as a comic for not writing something that's universally can jump into your head. They might not all laugh and die at it, but they should all fucking get it. And it's not because of their background or whatever, because they've all decided to laugh. Now, yeah, you're at a fucking, like last night doing Frank's show, it's a bringer. Okay, example, there was a young girl on the show, and she went up there and she had a powerful 5 minutes because she's a young girl who's gone through breast cancer. Okay. And she was talking about, I don't say she's in her early 20s, I'm guessing. And we're talking about it, but also making it funny, but also in a 5-minute fucking set as a bringer doing this. But the audience kind of just stared at her. And I had chatted with her parents afterwards. They were like, talking to me. I didn't know it was her parents. And they were like, hey, good job tonight, whatever. And one just mentioned, she said, my daughter, and said she's a little bummed out about the reaction. I go, you tell her right now, fuck them. Because what she's doing is fucking awesome. And she's light years ahead of where she needs to be because she's already sharing real shit and eliciting feelings. And I listened and paid attention. I never listened and paid attention to that shit. The people in that audience they're not a comedy audience. They're forced against their will to fucking be there as hostages for the other people performing. So no matter what you tell them, they're just going to wait to cheer for their fucking friend who's a college junior and wearing a blazer and his dad spends a lot of money at the casino. I'm not really talking about a real person. The kid was a fucking annoying as shit. Anyway, but I said, "Do you please let them know?" And the mother said, "Can you message her?" And I go, "I was going to anyway, because I wanted to say something, but yeah, I definitely will." And just to let this person know, don't think about the audience. Think about what your message is, what you want to do, and be yourself. If that's what you want to talk about, great. Because Dan and I were talking about on the ride home, and Dan was like, that can be a bummer if you're only doing like for a little bit of time. I go, yeah, but if that's what's on her mind and she can laugh at it, you know how many people when she gets good, who's like she will fucking hit home with, especially something like that. If she can come through that and laugh the pain you have, you can also laugh at things because at least I'm not going through what she's going through and she can do it. That's the real fucking shit. I love watching that kind of comedy and somebody who's that brave. And then the next kid goes up and goes, my penis. And it's like, all right. Now you're like, unless your penis has cancer, you better shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, exactly. You better have some real good dick cancer. But I enjoyed watching that. That's what's getting me excited about writing things and being around the young people that are writing and doing stuff. The old people that have done the thing before me that are still fucking doing it, knowing that comedy is a thing that it's like a fucking Milton Bradley game from literally from 5 to 99. You can fucking enjoy it. And even if you're 100, so you can have it. But like the fact that it'll never leave us. I hate when people say comedy is a marathon, not a sprint. No, motherfucker, marathons end, bro. Marathons end. Comedy doesn't. It's like you're running and then you die. Yeah. And that's it. But the goal is not to be at a thing, because when you get to here, now you want to go here, and then you want to go here. And if you're happy where you got to, quit and get the fuck out of the way, because no one's happy. Because if they were, Seinfeld wouldn't still be writing material. Like the greatest ever wouldn't keep trying to do other shit. You keep wanting to go to new levels, and that's what's so exciting about it. And to watch someone new come in and do this thing, and then have fucking assholes mean mug, and then make her feel bad because she's fucking doing something brilliant. Be happy they're hating it, because haters gotta hate. I've heard that in songs somewhere.
Yeah, and the good news for her is that all it takes is to land one time. Because like when you do that level of, you're talking about something that tense and you do get the laugh, like it's going to kill on a level of any joke you've ever told. You know what I mean?
Right. And even if the other jokes later have nothing to do with that kind of stuff, they're just regular jokes.
To keep the confidence going, to see
the confidence in the ability to write something that connects like that. She's learning already how to connect, how to resonate, it's okay. We can all go do our 10-minute, 15-minute set and have the audience laugh, whatever. But do they remember us? Do they take it home? Do they want to know who you are afterwards? They might remember that you had maybe they'll see the TV show you joked about 4 weeks later and go, I remember a guy, I forget his fucking name in the comics. He also mentions Yellowstone. That was funny. Now I think that thing when I think of Montana. Okay, that's fine. But like if someone's experiencing a life problem and then boom, like, her joke comes in your head and makes you tell someone that because now they can feel better about going through this. Or like, hey, watch this video of this comedian because she went through shit like this. And I think it's gonna make you cry and laugh at the same fucking time. That's a whole different fucking level of shit. You know what I mean? When I was doing my jokes about divorce, when I was on my second album, people would say to me, it was crazy what I was sharing, but I'm like, that's how I felt. I was laughing within doing it, but people were going through divorce and weren't especially dads who weren't going to see their kids every day for the first time were really on board with what the fuck I was talking about because I was really sharing it. Yeah, my joke ended in me being consoled by a retarded guy at a movie theater, but like that's what really fucking happened to me anyway. But it was something that was hitting home, and people would come up to me and not just go, "That was funny," and talk to me about it. It was crazy.
Yeah, you struck a nerve with them, made them think about something they went through in a different perspective. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, their nerve was struck. I like that, nerve striking. What does that mean?
I don't know.
That saying to strike a nerve. Like, was somebody doing that? Was that a torture? Because I'm finding that all sayings are coming from awful things. Like we find out like it means one thing, but like the other day I was watching that movie. I think I might mention this last week, but Firestarter is the remake of it, of the Drew Barrymore one. They've now made a new one, and there was a Native American guy in it, and somebody lit him on fire. And I looked at the kids and I went, Indian burn. And we're fucking laughing. But so it's just because it's stupid, whatever, making a joke. But then my daughter was like, what is that from? Like, she goes, was that like, did they grab people's arms and do that? I go, oh, no. We're calling it that because it makes your skin red. She's like, oh my God, it's racist. Even that's racist? I'm like, yes, we're giving you an Indian burn. We're turning your skin red like a Native American kind of is, sort of, but not really. It's just crazy.
Like, where do you think yanking my chain came from?
I do know, but I'd like you to share.
No, I don't know. I just have a guess. I could.
Oh,
somebody who was on a chain.
You have a guess of they'll be yanking my chain. They'll be pulling me back into this horrible thing. I don't know, like slavery.
Yeah.
How about this? I'm actually working on a bit for this because Dan Brown and I were driving to a gig on Sunday, and literally it came. We were just talking about something, and then like I was talking about somebody I was speaking to at work, and they said cotton picking minute, and I'm like, that's crazy. That's just in the vernacular. But like, where did that come from? And then I was like, go ahead.
No.
Oh, you were yawning and holding the mic. It looked like you were going to speak.
No,
we're both so tired. I was like, he's got a big point. Look at him. It's like, no. But and like I didn't know where it came from, so I was like saying in my head, okay, there's different kinds of minutes. In my head, I was going through this thing. I'm like, so like a New York minute is like it happens in a second, in a flash. You know, it's been a minute is like a newer slang where it means it's been a while. And a cotton picking minute means efficient, affordable, and the right way to fucking do it if you want to save money. Oh, and racist. So I did try it at an open mic, and it kind of worked with the stance.
Pretty good.
It's wrong, but like my God, if you're trying to save a buck, it's the best. It's the best minute.
It's the fastest.
But a cotton picking minute. I don't even know if that means fast or slow, but I'm guessing it means fat. Wait, a cotton pick, or maybe it's the worst minute because the way people say it is like you better wait a cotton picking minute.
It's not big in the vernacular where I'm around.
Not anymore, is it? But you obviously have heard of it.
Yeah. I don't even know.
The way they say, now I think about it, the way they say it is almost like they're using that instead of saying like motherfucking or goddamn.
Right. It does feel like a TNT edit.
But is it that because it's like, I can't say motherfucking, but what's just as bad? Cotton picking. That's the worst minute.
Yeah. Like, I'm trying to think how the N-word was involved somehow, right? Like, it feels like that's the PC version of something, but I don't even know.
It is involved either right before it or right after it, or sometimes like Spanish, like the exclamation points before and after. It's right there with both. I love that when you find out every saying is just from that kind of shit.
Yeah, it turns out like everything was racist because people were racist. Like literally, now it's hard to understand because everybody emigrates everywhere. But literally, race was like wars were fought over race. Like if people look different than you, they were trying to kill you.
But also there was somebody who was really good at making saying. Like that's the thing. It's kind of like when you'd watch like old timey like Civil War movies. So there's all the guys with the musket guns and they got the bandages on their head. Then there's a guy playing the flute. And you're like, what are you doing? He's like, well, sometimes you need theme music. You know what I mean? Like that guy's just playing the flute.
Things. Yeah.
That's what he did. He didn't fight. He just fluted. So there was people that were like, I'm going to kill all the Jews. And someone else goes, you need a saying for that? Like what? I don't know. You might make bumper stickers. I can come up with some good shit. Have you ever thought of the word kike? And he's like, well, no. He's like, well, I did. And I'm not really sure what it means, but they're going to hate it.
Exactly.
Once I'm done with it. Now tell everyone. He's like, well, there isn't a way to do that. I don't know. Tie it to a pigeon's foot and send it places. Start with Germany. They'll love it. Like
they're going to be big fans.
It's amazing that got out there. Like the things that people know now. The sayings that we know that everyone knew. Somebody said it once, and it was not like in an instant on Twitter. It literally was just like everybody just kept hearing it and going, I'm saying this.
Yeah, but it's kind of like you said about how do you get the word out quickly? Like when you had to give one speech a year, you could make it pretty poetic.
But you wouldn't say cotton picking minute in your speech, would you?
Are you running for Senate in the South?
I wasn't thinking about it, but maybe your cotton picking minute. The expression, what a cotton picking minute means, hold on for a damn moment. It shows anger or other strong feelings, and cotton picking is a substitute for stronger curse words. It may have racist connotations. It may. But it's not really telling me. Oh, here's the origin. I just want to find this quick. Oh, I should go back to this. Well, fuck. That was better. This will be fun. 5 racist English phrases with a seriously awful history. Here we go. And it's got a picture of a black person right in front. Why? I think it's Tupac. No, it's just a lady. And I didn't mean it. Fuck. It do-rag. It's what it was. What's the first one? Sold down the river. Do you know that one? I've heard it, but not in a long time. I think I've only heard it in movies.
Yeah, it does feel like a Western type saying.
This is one of the most offensive terms still in common modern usage, and it really, really shouldn't be. Our modern definition of selling someone down the river is betraying them. But as an NPR special on the phrase pointed out in 2014, its origins are a lot more specific than that, a lot more terrifying. I think we get where it's going. I don't know if I have to. We sold on the river meant to be sent to do manual labor in southern parts of the U.S., usually to pick cotton. Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin featured Tom being sold down the river. So it's from a book.
Okay. I think the one we use more often is probably you sold me out. And I think that comes from different.
Right. But I don't know if that's being sold me out.
Right. Right. That's what I would use for that one. That's the phrase I hear. So I don't think that has the same.
Number 2 is no can do. I've heard that, but I don't know there was anything racist to it. It's actually got the origins, a particularly nasty bit of white mockery, people making fun of Chinese pidgin English. I had no idea. Jesus Christ. The phrase first popped up in 1827 in reports of English speakers in China. The online dictionary gives an example of 1836, where the request of a white tourist in China is met with the national mixism of no can do. So someone saying to them, you can't do this. Like they won't get it. I better talk broken English like they're a baby. In this respect, it's quite similar to the phrase long time no see, which is first reported as being said in Native American Pidgin English in 1901, may actually have been a Mandarin expression in English. Scholars of Pidgin in several languages, but particularly in Chinese, have pointed out it was often used by whites as a crude way to poke fun at other races. Long time no see is fucking racist?
That seems like a reach.
Because I think they would say, oh, long time no see. I guess if you say it like that, it does sound pretty Chinese. Getting gypped. I never thought of it because I always thought it was spelled J-I-P-P, but I didn't realize it was spelled with the show me here, like a gypsy.
Yep.
Yeah, never even thought.
I knew that one.
You have more gypsy things where you're from than I do here. I don't have gypsies.
Yeah, no gypsies there.
But that makes sense. Are they a race? The gypsies? It's just a group, right? They're not a race. I know they're inbred kind of, but like.
I don't know the rules. I think there is, though, because it's like if you're part of them or you're not.
All right, I'm going to ask a real question. I know we've joked about that. I'm being serious. This is not me shitting on it or being whatever. I have a legitimate question for you. who knows some theological type things and shit of that nature. Okay. Is Jewish a race? It's a religion, correct?
I
Are we speaking of people from Jerusalem, or are we speaking of people that honor that religion? Because when someone says, "What are you?" they either say Italian or I'm Jewish. But Italian's not a religion, and Jewish is a religion, or is Hebrew a religion, and we just call them Jewish because we relate that to it? Is Jewish supposed to be people from Jerusalem?
No, it's not people from Jerusalem.
Okay.
I think what it became is like, so they have their rules of kosher and things like that they follow as a culture and a religion. So they probably started to get viewed as a race, and I think they probably consider themselves a race, even despite the phenotypical different presentations.
No, but okay, and that's great what they view themselves. But like, I've never looked when you're filling out a bubble on an application. I don't think there's Jewish.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
If someone does know, please don't tell us.
Yeah, don't reach out.
We're good. Number 4, this one's easy. The second I say it, it has no other connotation. Off the reservation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard it said, but not by anyone who meant well. Like, they even do how. Like, after, that's not really a saying in the current vernacular. You know what I mean?
No. And the best part was, it was like supposed to be a nicer way of saying he's crazy. Like calling somebody crazy would be really rude. Going, he's off the reservation is like,
oh, I've never, is that what it, because I've never heard it used in that way.
How is it used? Maybe I'm an idiot.
No, you're not. I think I can use that one too, but the way I'm reading it here is why I know it. To go off the reservations, to leave your group area expected space for a time. It's like if you were Republican and then you switched over, you went off the reservation.
Oh, yeah, let me just leave the concentration camp for a bit and stretch my legs.
Yeah, I think that's
that would be the same joke.
Yeah, kind of. No, but that's kind of what I've heard it be like when someone's like, hey, do they, where did so-and-so go? Like, they don't live here. They moved out west. They went off the reservation. Like, they're out of here. They changed their life. They went, I've even heard it used like in a sober sense. They used to drink, they're off the reservation, which is funny because Native Americans are always drunk. So that's funny. It was used that way. I mean, not always drunk, but cotton picking's number 5. The phrase, "Are you out of your cotton picking mind?" seems to have a serious racial overtone, particularly against black slaves in the southern United States, who were the pickers of cotton for much of American history. Cotton picking is usually used as a stand-in for damn, to make it more socially acceptable than swearing, ironically enough. If you're not from the South, you may have heard the adjective cotton picking for the first time from a Bugs Bunny cartoon from 1952. Bugs Bunny's like one of the most racist things ever made. You remember when they would do the buck teeth and stuff? Like, you put on like the Chinese hat?
Yeah. And he was always going trans too.
I think he did blackface. I could be wrong. I think Bugs Bunny did blackface.
Wouldn't put it past him, that's for sure.
Linguist Gary Martin over at the Phrase Finder has found that cotton picking is actually a pretty old term dating back to the first European cotton plantations in the 1700s, that it only really showed up as an adjective in the 1940s. And in the examples he found, it referred to Southerners in general, not just blacks. So it meant like everyone from down south. It didn't just mean if you were black. But as a massive debate over the use of the phrase in Canadian Parliament in 2011 shows, many still believe that to ask somebody to wait just a cotton picking minute is to make a derogatory link between a slave occupation and a modern expression of frustration. Obviously, it's not difficult to see why. I don't know. I think that's grasping. I think if 2011, nobody was saying it as like, you wait a racist felt minute. You know what I mean? I don't think they were saying that, especially then. I think they really were saying it as a cleaner way of not swearing. I can see a Southern woman, like a lady, saying, "You wait a cotton picking minute," and she means but she can't say it, and it doesn't mean anything bad. I don't think it had a racist tone to it that in 2011. I think in 1952 when Bugs was saying it, I think he just like string them up. Kind of what he meant. But there's another variety in the phrase. To call someone a cotton picker is wrong.
Sorry,
I don't think they needed
froze
to
up.
say that. Oh, you froze. Did you hear what I said?
What if that's their job, though? Yeah, what if
I
that's
don't
their
think
job?
anybody does it. Does anyone pick cotton anymore?
I mean, it has to come from somewhere.
Machine, the cotton gin.
I'm sure there's a machine.
The cotton gin. Right? Isn't that the thing that was made by, isn't that Eli Whitney made that?
Yeah.
Was it Eli Whitney?
I think so. Yeah.
I went to Eli Whitney
Yeah, it
Technical
was definitely
School.
Eli Whitney.
Yeah, I went to Eli Whitney Technical School in Hampton, Connecticut, but they didn't teach us about that. I was hoping we were fighting cotton gins, but we weren't. We were the owls.
That would have been a sick name.
Yeah. That was it. So, did you have any? You had shows, right? We haven't talked since like last
I think
week.
my internet might be making this the end of the episode, unfortunately.
Well, we'll see what we get through it. You had some shows, right?
Yeah, I did the stand Monday for Frantic. Then I did a theater with Earl David Reed Saturday.
How was that?
It was good.
Was it just you two, or who else is on it?
Yeah, just the two of us.
Really?
Work
How much time did you
cleaner.
get to do?
I did 25.
And what did he do? Like an
It
hour?
went well. That would have been short. He did like 2 almost.
Really? That's awesome.
And he just killed nonstop.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
That's that shit. That's the young comics should be watching that.
Yeah.
I put on a clinic, just being able to keep an audience's attention in a theater for 2 hours without them knowing about his views on shit or his podcast. You know what I mean? Like a fucking just a guy really talking, and fucking you can walk in with no thoughts of who he is and walking out going, "That's a beast. Holy shit. I didn't realize that there was this many comedians in the world that I don't know that are awesome."
Yeah. And like he keeps a high energy the whole time too, which is like, you know what I mean? You get some storytellers, you get why they're able to go long, but him, it's just boom, 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 boom. So that was good. Tuesday I did Ponte Vecchio, always a fun spot. Larry Bea, and got some tortellini, and then I was in Boston with Will Noonan Wednesday.
Yeah, and I saw you were right next to. I know 2 comics pretty well on that list. I mean, besides I knowing Will, Don Zolo, who I'm friends with, who I love. He was like second on the list. He's the most arrogant fuck ever, and I love him. Oh, he's so great. You want a fun follow on social media? Go follow Don Zolo. His opinion, he doesn't give a fuck. He will tell you to your face that you're wrong, even if you're right. He doesn't care. He's great. And then Brian Plum is is like a New England treasure. Like when Plum first started, he would just walk up. I brought him the Maine one time, and he goes up, and the crowd's there, and right away he just goes. He says, "How's it going?" And then someone just goes, "Fine." He goes, "Why are you being a cunt?" Like that was literally his second line. And they're like, "What?" And someone's like, "We just want to laugh." He goes, "Yeah, because you're a dumb cunt." It's like 2 minutes later, they're like blading him. He goes, "I can't be done." They're like, "You're fucking done." And I had to do like an hour and a half instead of the 45 I was supposed to do.
That's hilarious.
But it was like, that's always, it was like, that's fucking weird. And he would just say shit. He used to have a joke about powdering a clam. He's like, "You powder your balls. Why can't you powder your clam?" Just the whole thing about that. And people are like, "What the fuck?" And he would just be doing fine and then just train wreck everything. And, but I know he's gotten into his own, but he's like a little guy who's so influenced by Bill Burr. It's crazy when you hear him talk, but he's fucking funny as shit.
That's awesome. I did not get to see him as much. I saw Don's whole set. Just Will and I were outside chatting, and I was getting back because I had to work the next day. But
Sure, you get to watch a lot of guys talk about Boston.
No, so this room was a lot more college kids.
Yeah.
Looking for an excuse to drink. So like a lot of the jokes were kind of like what you were talking about, people doing their 5-minute spots where they just go up and they're like, so I saw this guy being a racist, and that was
That's not Zolo. Zolo would never do that.
bad.
Yeah.
And you're like, I know you need to get a reaction. No. Don went up and was like, "Hey, you were for..." Will introduced me to everybody and was like, and went up and did, the typical stuff. Did I lose you for a second?
Yeah, well, it was chopping in and out, so I couldn't really hear you.
Okay, so basically, Don just went up and was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do my shit," and did exactly what you said. Just, "You're wrong. Participation trophies are stupid. You're stupid," and like, I get that. I enjoy that.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I Boston has a nice feel to it. You're gonna get like every little. It's like people think it's like New York because there's certain parts of it that are like feminist or prideful, if you will, or something like that. But for the most part, when you go to a showcase like that, it's a bunch of people that even though they weren't born there, somehow have that accent now, and they're just spewing hate in one way or the other, even if it's like against whites or against blacks or whatever, or just against the Celtics or whatever. They hate. It's just hate.
Absolutely. And like you don't have to be alienating to still get your point across. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be hateful either way. It could just be funny. Like I think you make people think about things more when they laugh out of how stupid their viewpoint is than yelling at them. You know?
Definitely.
The joke I always use is the Rogan with lollipops, where he's like, if you're against gay marriage, it's really because you think dicks probably taste like lollipops. Like that's the only reason you'd be like, oh God, this is probably so great. Like, and it made you really think and be like, oh yeah, why wouldn't you? Why would you care? Like, and I was young when that happened, like 5th or 6th grade, and it was like that's a pretty good point.
Yeah, I've never cared if gay people got married. I don't care if anyone gets married. And I don't even think in a joking sense, just it doesn't have anything to do with me.
Yeah, exactly. And like we talked about this last week, and I don't want to irritate you by going to that topic, but being Catholic, that's what you're raised. You're like, this is wrong, and then you just need somebody to shatter that perspective a little bit, you know?
It's funny because I was raised Catholic, but that was never brought up.
No, it's really since I would say probably like 2000s on, they've really become super political.
Right.
In the like, this is who you should vote for. This is what you think. This is wrong. Let me comment on it. Where it felt like it should just be, this is what we believe. Don't.
And that's probably when I stopped being religious. It's probably like late 90s, early 2000s.
Makes sense.
So I never heard anything about that. But you also didn't know anything. I didn't know anyone gay.
No, that too. Like you don't know anybody gay.
And I know I did, but I didn't know. You know what I mean? Like they were just flamboyant and crazy at parties and experimental in college or whatever the fuck they were. It was just fine.
Yeah.
Since your internet's not doing great, we'll end soon, but I want to ask your opinion. This is kind of a POS story, but I think there's only one option of who. I think it's more of the question of, is this person a piece of shit or not? That's kind of what it is. So at the I went to the Stress Factory open mic on Wednesday. I've been going there a little bit recently. I like going there. The host is a guy named, the host is JB Smooth's brother, Think Floyd. I like him. He's a good dude. There's some comics I know that go there, but for the most part, I don't know most of the comics, and most of them don't know who I am. So I can go work on shit. They just think I'm some old guy who's like trying comedy for the first time or whatever, until I go on stage and do well, whatever. But it's about open mic, me working on new shit. Me and Dan go. Ben Ortiz is always there, so it's fun to watch Ben working on insane fucking shit, and it's just crazy, just screaming out nuts stuff. Like he actually even asked me while we were there. He goes, "Yo, Pat, I got a idea for a joke, but I believe it's incomplete." And he yells me at a thing. He's like, I'm so broke I can't even afford to get married. That's all I got so far. I'm like, well, what I would do is got to go with a twist, man. You know what I mean? Like they think you're gonna go into a thing where you can't afford to go away or start a family and stuff like that. But you could be like, make the joke about how you can't pay for the mail order bride, or how are you gonna pay the trafficker or whatever. He goes, I'll consider those. And then Dan looks at me and goes, he's never going to even try any of that. He's just going to yell the thing. It's like, of course, but it's fun. I like the fact that he at least asked. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to learn shit. He's not going to listen, but he tried. So anyway, it's fun to see a lot of people there. Now we're at the mic, and before it's about to start, a couple comics walk in. There's this one comic. He does New York stuff too. He's a good comic. His name's Bo McDowell. And he booked some stuff in New York. He's one of the guys that I remember, like, and I shouldn't say it in a negative way, but you might remember when Aaron Berg did shows in like the Norwalk area and didn't get his check for weeks. It wasn't Bo that was doing that, but it was the group of guys he was performing with and putting stuff on with that took care of it. But like Bo is a funny fucking comic and he works hard and all that shit, whatever. And he's become very friendly and now has a podcast with Lisa Lampanelli. And Lisa Lampanelli's originally from Connecticut and stuff like that. So I guess she's around the area. I don't think she's doing comedy really anymore. But when he walked into the open mic, Lisa walked in with him. And, she looks, if you remember Lisa from 30 years ago, she looks nothing like that. If you've seen her recently, she looks kind of like Andy Dick. I'm not trying to be a dick, but it just kind of has short hair, glasses, but she looks way better than Andy Dick. So I'm not saying in the shit way. I'm just saying it looks way different.
She doesn't look like the typical Lisa Lampanelli you're picturing from the roasts of Comedy Central days.
Right. She looks more like, see, I think we're going to do an age thing, but there was a TV show and Geraldo had one called Sally Jesse Raphael. And she looks kind of like Sally Jesse Raphael, like the glasses, the short hair, like that kind of thing. Anyway, she walks in. Some of the young comics, when I say young comics, I don't mean young people, but people that are new to comedy. Because a lot of the open micers are older people. There's some guys that are older than me, but they're trying it out for the first time or the first couple months, whatever. And they see her and they're like starstruck, which I fucking get. They're like, holy shit, why is she here? Well, is she going to perform? Oh, fuck, do I have to go on after her? What the fuck? Nobody wants to deal with that. So she sits in the back, but she was just there to support Bo and then the other guy, Nick. And I guess they do a podcast. I don't know what they were doing afterward. I didn't get to speak to anybody because I was just working on my shit, whatever. I don't really know them that well. I don't know Lisa. So it's like, so one of the comics goes on stage. This guy I've known him from Facebook. His name's like Pops Theron or something like that. He's a guy who was a fan of comedy and now he just started doing it. And he came down to the mic, older guy, probably about 5-6 years older than me. And he goes up and I'm sitting like kind of close. They want us all to sit close. There's not a ton of people at the mic. And then she's sitting like behind me a little bit, but like, not where we're near each other, but enough where you have to look in the same direction for both of us. And Pops goes up and he starts telling a joke and he goes, oh my God, it's just crazy that I'm here in front of one of my idols, like the next Don Rickles. Of course, I'm talking about Pat Oates. And then he stops and goes, just kidding. Obviously, Lisa Lampanelli. I laugh at it. I mean, I'm in my head like, would anyone at this mic even get that? No one knows who I am. They might not even recognize that she was there, but now they know her name. They're like, what is he talking about? And then after a minute later of not doing well, not that he's supposed to do well, it's open mic. He's working on things. He's brand new. There's no well, but you know what I mean? Like literally you can see him struggling for thought because I think he's just thrown off and like starstruck. He does it again. And of course, I'm getting no laughs, not even from my hero, my legend, Pat Oates. Says it again and goes, just kidding. Obviously, I mean Lisa Lampanelli. So then, like, afterwards, at the second that her friends were done performing, they took off and left. So, so when later on, when this guy was outside and other comics were performing, it got to the point where it was just like literally there were just old men going up and telling jokes my grandfather told me. And I'm like, holy shit, I got to walk out of the room for a minute and go. There's a kid that's a comic that's like the house comic there at the place, and he runs the door and does all that shit, whatever. Because Stress Factory has you like, if you are a comic and you work there, you can get stage time on the weekends. A lot of guys have done it, used it for good comedy work. This kid, Matt Lopes, funny kid, got some new shit, whatever. But he's a kid that works real hard. So I went out and was chatting with him, and this guy walks out and he's like, that was crazy, huh? And I go, yeah. And he goes, hey, hope you don't mind me bringing you up. I go, I don't know if anyone got it. He goes, but you're upset that I kind of like was shitting on you. Go, you know what? I hate to say it. Maybe it's an ego thing. I'm kind of flattered that you could even think about making that joke. That you'd say me and they go, no, I mean this other person. Because in your head, you thought people knew who I was. In your head, it was like the poor man's version of whatever the fuck she was. But to waste your 5 minutes, is he a piece of shit?
How long has he been doing it? And
I would probably say I have more fingers than he's had time on stage.
Okay. And are you guys like friends? How did he know you?
I found out that day that he follows me on Facebook.
Okay.
I've recognized the name when they said it because I'm like, this person has liked some of my posts.
I think his actions made him a piece of shit. But his intent wasn't so. It was shitty, but he was just trying. He's new to comedy. He's trying to have that fun. Oh, look what I did at the open mic. I made fun of my friends in the room. He's trying to do something different, and it just didn't go well. The going back to it thing is tough. Like, if it didn't work the first time, just go to your shit. But it depends. I don't know the vibe of the Stress Factory open mic either. Like if you're in a room with 8 people at a shitty bar that you hang out with every week, then that's one thing. But like the Stress Factory, if it's like the Comedy Zone where there's 40 comedians waiting to go up for a spot, everybody's doing 5 minutes, it's kind of more professional. Then like just don't do it. Just do your joke.
There's not 40, but the list has at least 15 to 20, and then there's an audience at the least of 15 to 20 people, sometimes 40 to 50. But this time, combine comedians sitting in there and people paying to watch because it's a $5 cover to watch the showcase open mic thing they call it, whatever. It literally 40 to 45 people were there.
Okay, then I wouldn't have done it. That's not my move. Like if you're in a room, you've been in the type of mic I'm describing where it's 8 people, they're all comedians, everybody's in their own notebook, and you're just trying to get the room to pay attention to you so you can even get a gauge if the jokes you were, you know what I mean? Like, so I get that, but in 40, there's plenty of people that you can get. Like I wouldn't have done it, but I think the going up to you and was like, oh, did it bother you? And not being like, dude, I'm sorry if that bothered you. I just was trying to be funny.
That's kind of more the vibe.
Like, oh, that was more of the vibe?
Yeah, it wasn't like a dickhead thing. It was kind of like, he was so worried about what he did. And so I think he was up there for 5 minutes and it was just a rush of like, what the fuck do I do? And I think literally he looked out and said, I know who that is. I know who that is. I'm just going to say what I'm seeing. What the fuck? He kept going. I don't remember what I was going to talk about. He was getting thrown off by shit. I don't think anything was meant by it. But I think 10 years ago, I couldn't have handled that. I'd be like, what are you fucking shitting on me for? And I probably would have gone up and then made fun of him. Because I hadn't gone up yet. It wasn't like they had seen me. So they didn't even know. People there wouldn't even know what they were talking. I mean, there was a couple people that knew who I was. Some of the comics, maybe 1 or 2 of the audience people. But most people don't know who I am. I mean, in Connecticut, some areas people know who I am. But like, not like the level of Lisa Lampanelli. You say her name, and even if you don't know who she is, you recognize it from the roast or Stern or something.
No, I definitely agree with that. I will say him mentioning you, and maybe this is, like you said, your years of experience and where my headspace has been, but almost makes it feel like a nod. Like, hey, you're kind of on a similar trajectory. Like you're not at her level, obviously, but like you're of enough importance that people will get the joke when I point to you instead of her. So I get where you're coming from back in there. You'd be like, why are you even talking about me at all? But I would take it as a compliment.
Yeah, but the main reason why I don't get it, and I made this point to Dan, and he was like, oh, that makes sense. If I was up there and I was that flustered and I wanted to do that, I would reference the host who they've seen. Even if they don't know who he is, they've literally heard his name, and he's the other comment that keeps coming up. He's like, my legend, my hero. Of course, I mean, think Floyd. I'm just kidding. It's Lisa Lampanelli. Because they're like, oh, yeah, that's the host guy who was up earlier. You can't really mean him. Ha ha. That would have made sense because he's been introduced as more special than the other people.
Yeah, or a comedian who did bomb that you know.
Right, like, but he was like third, so there really wasn't even anybody yet
to
even do that. And this guy was doing so bad, I think for him to try to insult, so you're trying to name someone else and do that thing. Why wouldn't you name the thing they know?
Yeah.
It was almost a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, there's a guy. And he's coming up, and you haven't met this character yet.
I'll tell you what I would have done. I would have just gone up and done all of Lisa's old jokes and see if she could remember any of them. Get a real gauge of what she wrote versus got written. Like all the roast jokes.
I was kind of hoping she went up.
That would have been sick.
Well, I've seen her do it one time before. When I ran Joker's Wild, she showed up one time. And
that's awesome.
Then instead of doing the 5, she did like 20, and she didn't want to pay the $5 cover. And she's like, well, I'm Lisa Lampanelli. I'm like, yeah, you should definitely have the 5. You know what I mean? And she, at that time, she was going around with her nephew. And what she would do is she had him go up because he was opening for her. He would go up there and be flamboyantly gay. And then she would shit on him for being gay.
Whole new level.
I don't know if you have to practice this, but whatever. And it was like Joker's Wild was like a rough club. Like the environment I bred there was kind of like Rocky 3 when Apollo brought Rocky to his gym. Where it's like, what the fuck are you doing here? When people walked in and they weren't part of the group, like it wasn't welcoming. So she came in and everyone's like, fuck her. What's she going to take my spot? She's going to bump me? Like, we didn't want that kind of shit there, which we should have all just enjoyed and been like, oh, this is so cool. Like a well-known person's at our mic. But instead we're like, fuck this. And then remember the next comic went up and goes, keep it going for David Spade. And then everybody's like shitting on her. And like, it was just like, what the fuck? Why didn't we respect this? But we're all just drunk and angry at our own own selves for being losers. Oh, so when she came in, I was like, enjoy the moment. It's years later in your life. It's kind of cool that she's here, but she didn't go up. So whatever. But I just thought it was kind of funny that the guy mentioned me in the thing.
It's pretty awesome.
It's kind of fucking weird. But yeah, but it was, so we had a fun time at the mic, and then tonight I'm doing a spot. I just have a bunch of new ideas and I'm working on shit. And I have a joke I've been doing. It was an old story that really happened to me, but I was able to find a way to finally fit it into a chunk of material. And the second I did it at a mic last week, it fucking hit so fucking hard. I was like, oh fuck, like that's crazy. Like that. Sometimes when you step a step back from something and give it like a year or two, and you don't know how to present it. So I'm telling it as a story, and people are like, this is a little rough. This is a little too much. I don't know. But when I turned it into a thing about like, oh, when I'm on a dating app and then this happened, they're like, fuck. Like, so it's like all of a sudden it just like hit.
It worked. Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
And it's also, I mean, it's not, believe me, in my notebook for that set, it just says 3 words. It says abortion stance, gender fluid, stillborn. So like, but that's the 5-minute chunk of all things, all about dating apps for me. So
it's awesome.
Did I do that thing on here? I'll do it because I hate this joke, but it's working. So I said I was on a dating app and a woman wanted to FaceTime me right away. Because I want to like know your voice. I want to ask you questions. I thought you wanted to like ask me about like my kids or just get to know me. And the first thing she said on there was, she goes, "What's your stance on abortion?" Jesus. And I was like, this. Dude, it got such a fucking pop. People are like, what the fuck? I even did it like another. Rodney Norman was like the cleanest comic. Was, dude, that's fucking brilliant. He's like, because people don't know if you're the one getting aborted, if you're mad at the words, like it can be anything. I'm like, yeah, that's my stance on abortion. Just that. They just move on to the next thing.
That's awesome. I love it.
It's the dumbest fucking thing. It's my second dumbest joke. My kid's favorite joke I ever told. When I first started, I had to write a clean joke. Somebody asked me to do a clean 5 minutes. By the way, real quick, because a comic friend of mine is opening a comics all weekend. Andre Kim is fucking hilarious. And the headliner, I'm not going to be a dick, but if you look up, you can see who it is. I guess the headliner last second went up to him and said, "Hey, listen, don't swear. You have to be clean." And he's like, "What? No one told me this. I'm doing 25 minutes cold in front of you. And now you're getting in my head." And Andre works so fucking hard. Andre's a fucking funny guy. I'm sure you've heard about him in New York. Yeah, Andre is on Godfrey's podcast. Andre's fucking... I've known him for years. The guy fucking works his ass off and has built a very good set, and he's getting his name out there, and he's only going to get better and better. He's really good. But he told me, he goes afterwards, he goes, "I was so in my head because I'm up there and I'm thinking about every word I'm going to fucking say because I only have 2 minutes to fucking like change and go, is this dirty? Can I say this? Can I do this joke? Can I do it?" And I was like, dude, the rest of the weekend, do your fucking act. They hired you. They know who you are. He can't handle it. First of all, you're not going to be like up there like offend, and I'm not trying to shit on him, but I'm like, you're not gonna go up there and be Jim Norton. Not gonna be a thing that's gonna destroy the room so much that he can't follow it. You're just gonna swear sometimes or talk about sex, your real life. Let him just do you.
Set. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's fucking great. But so when I first started, someone hired me to do like a little tiny theater, like real small, like one of those you put on like a school play, tiny, like narrow, like Lincoln got shot there, like theater, you know what I mean? That kind of shit.
Real hole in the wall.
Yeah, it was called like Piccolo's, or like a restaurant in the front, a dumb little thing. So to do it, I had to do like 5 to 7 minutes clean, and I barely had 5 to 7 minutes of anything. So I go, I'm trying to write jokes, and I wrote one. And to this day, my daughter will say, "This is my favorite joke." When anyone asks me one of my dad's jokes, which by the way, my kids do that. When someone says, "Tell us a dad joke," they tell them one of mine, and they're like, "It's not a fucking dad joke. It's my dad's joke." And it's like, it just tells some filthy, awful thing. But
which is also ultimately the greatest dad joke,
right? They're like, "Yeah, your dad joke stinks." My dad writes his own dad jokes, but it's like, so she'll tell this joke to people. I'm like, "Stop telling." She goes, "I don't care what you say. It's the best joke ever." So I wanted a clean joke. So I don't know why I thought of this, but I was like, "Hey, we all know what the Loch Ness Monster is, right?" And the crowd's like, "Yeah." It's like, we all know what it is. We all know, but why is it called that? I mean, I get it that it's from Lake Ness and all that, and it's a monster. But if I was the first person to ever see a monster come out of the water, I would have called it, "Ah!" Dude, it's the stupidest fucking joke. My daughter still tells it to everybody. Shamelessly, like, "You should keep doing that." I'm like, that would so not fit my act. They go, "Just do it in the middle. It'd be hilarious." Like, you do one crazy, like I'm doing the chunk. I just said like abortion stance. I did the Loch Ness Monster afterwards.
Right after,
know what to do?
Keep them on their toes.
You got anything else? Or you good?
That's about it for me. I'm with Kevin Brennan tonight and tomorrow at Mohegan Sun. I'm doing a guest spot, so it's not a long set. But it'll be
Mohegan
fun.
Sun? Oh, in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Yeah, because that guy, I'm like, no, you're not. That's Andre Kim and Dove David. I mean, nobody. No, Dove's great. It's just, I don't like when people tell people what to do in their act. If that's your case, bring it out.
It's one thing if it's like, hey, I'm doing 45 minutes on this topic, so if you could not do 25 on this same topic, that's one thing. But like to be like, don't talk, don't swear, don't do this. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
Well, our podcast is about to go 2 minutes longer because I want to have this discussion because I'm happy you said that. Why do you think that? If that's the case, let's say you, case in point, years ago, I was opening for a guy and he said, and at that point, I was doing mostly jokes about my kids. I'm being a dad, most of my jokes about my kids. He was also a dad and talked all about his kids. And he said to me, I don't know if we should both be doing nothing but jokes about our kids. It's too much about it. And I go, do we have the same fucking kids? And he goes, no. And I go, are we the same person? He's like, no. I go, then don't do that. I have my act. You have your act. If the crowd's getting that tired of kids, maybe they shouldn't be parents. It's the jokes that we're telling. Yes, maybe if you talk about, if you're a nuclear physicist comic and the other guy's also the wacky nuclear physicist, maybe, but also that's crazy. And I'd like to see an hour and a half on how you can pull that off because you're going to have different thoughts. You're going to have different things. So to me, it shouldn't matter what the first guy's doing. When you take the stage and you do your thing, it's like flipping the channel. And if you're good, it shouldn't matter what anyone else talked about. It's a refresh for the audience too.
No, I agree. And that's my personal stance on things. But I get the headliner being like, I was thinking more specific, like the nuclear physicist example. Like kids is a broad topic. But if it was like my experience coaching youth football, and then there were two guys who went back to back coaching, you know what I mean? Like that would be a little bit, there's a limited well to tap from. But like, I have no issue if we have the same jokes. For a while, a guy who doesn't do comedy anymore and I were working together. And he kind of like forced his way into the group and we did a lot of the same topics. And I always like going second because it was like, hey, you want to see me make this topic funny? You know what I mean? Like it sometimes plays into your advantage and I'm cool.
I think it will always play into your advantage because once again, I think one of the biggest downfalls for comedians when they're trying to advance is that we overthink the things we shouldn't care about. And sometimes to even think about someone else's act is too much. Because you're giving the audience too much fucking credit. You're giving the audience this sense of being a comic in the way you think they're studying each act. They're just laughing and reacting. They also got all their thoughts in their life. They're ordering drinks. They're making sure that the person they're with is having a good time. They're fucking mad about this or that, whatever. And they're just trying to laugh. They're listening, but they might not even notice that someone did a joke about being a football coach and then the next guy did a football coach thing. Or they might just go, or if anything, they might go, if they're like a little savvy, they'll go, oh, he's probably doing that to do a callback off that guy's shit. Because all you have to literally say is, hey, Bobby was talking about being a football coach. That's fucking crazy. I'm also a football. Who would think two single white men? Huh? Like,
yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
So own what you do. And it's not about you're being better than the other one, but just you have been working your whole comedy career to get to this point where you are with your material. I'm not going to let anyone tell me I can't do what I'm working on because this one show doesn't matter to me. It's just another step in me getting better. So if I'm in front of someone can say to me, I've worked with comics who were bald and Irish and loud and did crowd work. And people are like, oh, they're not going to be able to handle that. But case in point, there was a comedy club who wanted to book me and Kyle Kinane together. So that'd be funny that we both sounded like this. And it was like, I go, that'd be hilarious. But they're not, after 2 seconds, they're not going to hear that anymore. They're going to hear my jokes. And they're going to hear a fucking beast in Kinane. They're not going to care about what our voices sound like. They're going to hear what our voices are talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
So to me, I just hate when a comic does that in any way and is like, hey, I talk about this. Because that happened to my friend Howie Mason. Another comic was like, well, I also do a joke about giving blood at a blood bank before 1974. There was that whole thing like, were you here or there before 1970, whatever it is? And they both did a joke on that. One of their jokes was fucking hacky. And then Howie's was this brilliant fucking thing where it was just the way his delivery is where it's clean but great. And it's like, it's like, did you travel to Zimbabwe or any part of West Africa before 1974? I'm sure they're nice people. Like his reactions to each thing wasn't like dirty where you think it would go. He goes, but no, it's like what the fuck happened in 1973? He's like, that would be the whole thing at the end of it and going off in this rant. But the other guy's like, well, we can't both do it. Like, of course you can.
Yeah.
I can watch two bands do the Beatles. And they're going to be, there's just, I like the song. I like it. Or if I don't like it, whatever. I know something else is coming.
So be it. Yeah.
Just everybody stay in your own lane. That's what I'm saying. Don't worry about other people, not only in comedy, but in life. If your life was good, you wouldn't have a chance to go look at other lives because you're trying to like shit on other people. Don't shit on their comedy. Don't shit on what they're doing in life. Don't stop their way of making money. Don't do anything like that. And just be happy. Is there anything wrong with that? I don't think so. Bobby, I'm happy. We got together to do at least one episode this week. I don't know if there's going to be a chance for us to do two. You're busy and all that. But we'll try to put something out. Maybe I'll just do something smaller. Maybe I'll try to grab a guest or something for a second one on the Patreon. But you got anything to plug and push besides the Brennan stuff?
Oh, that's it.
I'm going to put this up like now. So this will be up. It's Friday. I'm going to put it up now just so it's up. Awesome. So if someone's like, well, where's blue shit in the background? Well, there's no blue shit today. Bobby's on a different flat top and you don't get, maybe sometimes you don't, maybe we had to pull back bare bones. Maybe a moment so you understood the seriousness of the beginning with the Frank thing. Look, we, like Bobby said, did we not talk about it like gentlemen? We did. Is it past? It's gone? Fine. If any of the Patreon people have a feeling about it, I'll listen to you. The Patreon people, you can message on Patreon and let us know what you think about Frank being gone. Would you like me to try to get Frank to do his own thing? Maybe he does a video on his own and we put it on the Patreon where it's by himself? Or do you want Frank to be a guest on something that I do sometimes? Are you fine with like, hey, that was the Frank era and then we move on, like Artie Lang left and now we don't have a third chair? Whatever you think, let us know on the Patreon. So I've got so this is Friday. So if you're in the area in West Haven, Connecticut, go down to my career's going so well, I'll be at the Best Western. But it's called the Think Funny Comedy Club in front of the Best Western. It's there. June 11th is the show. Go to my Instagram and in the bio, there's a link. Me, Johnny Rizzo. It's in Derby, Connecticut. Tickets will sell out. People love that motherfucker and people don't mind me either. I will, I'll be doing a lot more radio spots again. I had to pull back for a while from stuff, but in June and July, I'll be back on the radio, my own things on weekends. Nice. I'll be on Chaz and AJ next Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. as well, promoting that show and everything else. I got a bunch of other shows lining up. In July, we'll start pushing it more when we get it. But Bobby and I will be performing in Upper State New York. It's going to be a great show. So we want you guys to start knowing about that so you can get out there and come see us there. It'll be a good time. We got to figure out how I'm getting there, Bobby. I'll meet you somewhere and we'll do it for the rest. We'll do that. And I want to talk to you off here when we get a chance, not today, but whatever, that now that I got some free time in my hands, I definitely want to come back up to the compound and visit Gino and maybe sit next to him on hot water. So I'll talk to you about what day you think works there good. Sounds good, But everybody, it's a new era, I guess, as also an old era, but we're going to enjoy it and have fun. So, Bobby. Oh, and I have the whole thing up behind me. Silk City Hot Sauce. They've been here longer than Frank, Bobby, and me. They've been here since day one. They're doing it all, and we love them. Get a gift for some. If you feel bad about Frank leaving, if you feel bad that Bobby's being treated like the bad guy in this, to make them feel better, send them a bottle of Silk City Hot Sauce. Ask them their favorite flavor, send them a bottle. They'll feel better about stuff. Send it to your family, to your friends. If someone's not feeling well, if someone has COVID, it beats most COVID, I heard. It's got that kind of heat. It can beat it up. I had a show canceled because of COVID in June already, which I think is fucked up because how do you know? What do you mean? I think that's something to do with dog eat my homework. You can just say COVID. Now you don't have to pay a comic, but whatever. Follow us on the YouTube. Join the Patreon. There's going to be a lot of great shit on there. And Bobby.
Can't join them, beat them, and don't be a piece of shit.